Last time on Superstar Challenge,
Start building bridges.
our finalists were split into 4 teams of 2 and given just 2 hours to design and build a wooden bridge over a kiddie pool.
Disaster.
Between teamwork and execution, our handymen were up against all they could handle.
Just cut it with the freaking saw.
All right.
And so too was the judging panel.
It's a decal.
I know, I was hoping for some arches.
Yeah, that's what a bridge is. They're all wrong. This is actually the bridge to nowhere.
In the end, Brad and Joel and Mike were moving on,
We'll see you tomorrow.
while Dave and Ian, Valerie and Gil next had to compete against each
I
other.
knew the stairs would be a challenge. There's very specific codes on building a set of stairs.
And a very specific price for the 2 who didn't measure up.
Valerie? Gil? No cigar today.
Valerie and Gil were out, and this competition was now down to 6.
Painting a wall, changing a light bulb, tightening a tap. These things do not make you handy. Repairing a wall, wiring electricity, soldering a joint, that's handy. Today on Handyman Superstar Challenge, we are asking our 6 remaining contestants to do just that. Prove to us how truly handy they are by way of a few straightforward handyman tasks. All incredibly simple if you really are handy. All incredibly frustrating if you aren't. Add in some ridiculously short time limits, an immense amount of pressure, and you have all the makings of yet another installment of our ever-popular obstacle course challenge, where the only thing we guarantee is someone is about to stumble right out of the competition.
But not until they first stumble out of bed.
Rock and roll.
At this point, it seems the fellas are starting to take their preparations and thinking ever more seriously.
This is so much more than just a handyman competition. This is about life experience. This is about taking a chance and seeing what happens. And unless you buy a ticket for the lottery, you can't win it.
Another day, another $9.
I was tired today, and I certainly didn't want a huge challenge. So I think, today I really needed to pull it out.
It was a little bittersweet this morning to still be here. Happy anniversary, sweetheart. I'm away from my wife. She's on the other side of the country, and today is my first anniversary. We'll make up for that when I get home.
You're gonna be paying for that for a while. It's all good.
She'll forgive you.
One issue solved, it's now on to the next.
For crying out, Christopher.
Figuring out the day's agenda.
When we pulled in, I was thinking, okay, some kind of metalworking. Like, we all started speculating. It was like, this is like a dump. What are we doing here?
We're in a big scrapyard. You have no indication what's going on, so of course you're anxious.
And so they should be, because today 3 deceptively simple tasks await them. At station number 1, it's all about drywall repair. At station number 2, it's plumbing installation by cutting and soldering copper pipe and fittings. And at the 3rd stop, it's all electrical, wiring and installing a fluorescent light fixture. Now, don't forget, for this challenge, our resident judges will be present throughout. And today they're joined by guest judge Robert Cosi, editor of Canadian Contractor magazine. Now fully briefed on their challenge, our 6 handymen have only moments left to prepare.
I was nervous because it wasn't like really grueling tasks. Maybe not really difficult, but so it has to be right.
I thought that is really gonna be heavy. I've done all of these things, drywalling, plumbing, and electrical, but not on anywhere near a regular basis. I've done it all before. And I said, thank God.
Okay, handyman, you have 3 tasks, 90 minutes, and for the first time, 3 judges breathing down your necks. Are you ready? Okay, on your marks. Get set. Go!
And our favorite race is officially on.
It's the one that gives them pressure, the one that gives them the time limit. They've got to run to 3 different areas and try and do the best they can. I think it's exciting.
First stop, of course, is Station Drywall, where each wall for repair has been randomly assigned and each handyman has just 30 minutes to fix a gaping hole.
I ran up to my station and the hole where I had it was like this big. It was huge compared to all the other ones. I was thinking, well, that ain't fair at all.
I'd never done a patch that big, so I just did what I thought would be right.
And getting it right is precisely what our judges are expecting.
Every handyman must have drywall talent of some sort. Mainly what I was looking for was efficiency. There was a very easy and fast way of doing a repair that works perfectly.
I think people go into it and overthink it. It's a patch. Cut out the patch, put your backing in, screw it on, put the tape on, and you're done. It's simple.
I mean, it's kind of intuitive, something that almost everybody thinks they know. There are obviously things that professionals know how to do to make the job go faster and smoother. And those are the things that you're really looking for, I think, in a challenge like this. I'll be watching you. Perfect.
Honestly, I don't care if you do it the hard way, you do it, it takes you too long. In the long run, it's got to look real good at the end. And if you can't make it look good, my God, you're not a handyman.
As promised, Dave was immediately off and sailing.
Drywall's dead easy. That's so basic in this sort of business, it's just easy. Do you have to cut the patch first? That's the big trick. And then you can just trace it right on the wall, and then it's gonna fit like a glove. I just figured out the size of my patch, what it had to be, boom, tape. I was done in like 10 minutes.
Which didn't go unnoticed by the others.
I wasn't even mixing my mud yet, and they're like, Dave, you're done already? And it's like, oh God, here we go.
Got her done.
Got her done.
They were still putting backer in, and they weren't even taping, they weren't doing anything. It's like, I was surprised that everybody was having a hard time with it.
Especially skilled guys like Ian.
My technique for getting the backing for the patch was questionable, I guess. I put in 20 times more screws probably than I needed to, and had 3 times as many slats probably as I needed to, but I knew my end result was going to be good. And I'll sand it down a little bit, but eventually it'll all be feathered so it disappears behind the paint.
Feathered, so it'll be like a nice stylish Barrett drywall.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a drywaller, Joel learned his lesson long ago.
I hate drywall. I can hang the boards up, but the mudding and taping is definitely not one of my strong suits. That's why my drywaller's on speed dial.
How do you like that mix?
It's a little soupy. I think it was all right. Not really the best they've ever seen, but that's because I never do it.
You look sad.
I'm not happy. I'm not a drywaller.
Oh, I don't like the sound of you. Come on.
All right.
Buck up.
All right.
Hey,
Help.
do I need to give you a little in the chin? Hey, come on.
Brad's approach was characteristic. When in doubt, keep going.
I knew I could probably do as good as anybody. I mean, it's not rocket science to do drywall. I do what I think is right. I try and think about it logically. The biggest problem I had was when I cut my finger grabbing a handful of drywall screws because, they're sharp. Thank you. Sorry. I did have one problem. I got all my screws in, and then I found my dimpler. That would have been really nice to have had that tiny little piece of gear that I didn't look.
Well, I had it. I just didn't know I had it.
What didn't you know you had?
A dimpler. It's a screw bit for doing drywall.
I have a few dimples I didn't know about either.
Mike T's patch was typically unique and large.
The patch got to be a lot bigger than what I first anticipated, and so the judges were coming around and they're like, "Wow, that's an awfully big patch you're cutting out there." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, taping I'm pretty good at, so my taping turned out really well." All in all, I was happy with that at the end.
And leave it to school teacher Mike G to apply some simple common sense to a fairly simple procedure.
I've done a little bit of drywall and I can get by. Like, drywall is generally not that tough. I mean, if you've buttered a piece of bread, then you can probably drywall. I probably finished with maybe 5 minutes left. You get to a point where you don't want to play with it anymore because you're just going to screw it up, and you might as well just wait for it to dry and sand it and do another coat.
Do you think you did a good job?
I think I did an adequate job.
An adequate. You know what? Mike Holmes, Jim Carrick, they love adequate.
Okay.
And they also love work that's finished. For this first leg of the obstacle course, time should